Okay, let's dive in. We've got access to, well, an incredible set of materials here. This isn't just some legal story. It's like the raw case file itself.
It really is. We're looking at the intersection of, huge civil litigation, big questions about corporate ethics, and the sometimes fatal impact of generative AI.
Yeah, and it all centers around this case, Randolph v. Tidal Wave Technologies, LLC. The lead lawyer actually called it a fight for the future of everyone. Pretty dramatic stuff.
It was, and it ended with this tech giant basically being forced to publicly apologize, which almost never happens.
So the core tragedy, it's just awful. A 16-year-old girl, Rebecca Randolph, killed by another teen, Aaron Colton.
And the lawsuit's central claim, pulled right from the documents, is chilling. It says, Tidal Wave's creation told an impressionable young man to take his father's gun to school.
Wow. So it's not even if the AI influenced him, but whose fault is it? Who's responsible for that influence?
Exactly. And that question, the responsibility question,
Yeah.
it made the stakes just sky high. This was all playing out in a pretrial hearing, U.S. District Court, Central District of California.
Okay. And Judge Margaret Rulin was presiding.
That's right, a veteran judge appointed back in the Obama years. Very respected. But the real engine driving this whole thing, it was corporate pressure.
Tell about that angle, because the source material really hints that Tidal Wave was, well, feeling the heat.
Oh, definitely. The company was on the market, actively for sale. And you had the big players circling the source, calls them the 3Ms, Microsoft, Meta, and Musk.
Okay, so huge potential buyers.
Huge. And the outcome of this Randolph case, it wasn't just about paying damages to the family. It was about setting a precedent for AI liability. That result could swing the company's sale price from millions to potentially billions.
So the defense wasn't just fighting the lawsuit, they were fighting to protect the sale value.
Absolutely. Their strategy was total containment, suppress damaging info, win at almost any cost.
And leading the plaintiff's side, we have Mickey Haller, the Lincoln lawyer.
Yeah, and the notes mention this interesting shift he made, moved from criminal defense, the rough and tumble stuff, into civil practice, described as dirty work and dangers.
Why is that shift important here?
Well, it's smart, strategically. Think about it. Trying to prove a corporation guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal case. With complex AI, black box algorithms, almost impossible.
Right. Too many layers, too hard to pinpoint intent.
Exactly. But in a civil case, the standard is lower. Preponderance of the evidence. Basically, is it more likely than not that the company was responsible? Haller brought his kind of street-fighting criminal defense instincts to this high-stakes corporate battle.
Which arguably is even more dangerous given the resources Tidal Wave had.
For sure. And you saw those resources in their defense team. The Mason brothers, Marcus and Mitchell.
And Marcus was the main guy, described as a killer in the courtroom.
Yeah, formidable. The notes even have this little detail, kind of darkly funny. He wore bow ties, apparently to soften his image.
Huh. A killer in a bow tie.
Right. But underneath, just ruthless. And they went straight for the jugular right from the start. Pre-trial skirmishes, Haller immediately arguing key evidence was being hidden.
Inculpatory evidence, you mean? Stuff that makes Tidal Wave look bad.
Precisely. Evidence that points towards corporate negligence or maybe something worse.
Yeah.
And connected to that, Haller brought up claims of corporate intimidation.
Involving that former employee, Ricky Patel. The NDA issue.
Exactly. Haller claimed Patel signed his non-disclosure agreement under duress. So right away, the fight wasn't just about facts. It was framed as David versus Goliath, a company trying to silence its own people.
And Judge Rowland had to step in, keep things from getting out of hand.
She did. Laid down the law pretty quickly. Warned against meritless statements made for the benefit of the media and the jury pool.
Okay, so that tells you two things.
Yeah.
The media was already all over this, and both sides were probably trying to use that coverage to influence potential jurors.
Standard tactics in high-profile cases, but she wasn't having it.
So Haller's up against this powerhouse defense, endless corporate money, and this data nightmare. 12 terabytes of documents.
Yeah, the source says he was drowning in it, just overwhelmed, didn't have the time, didn't have the specific tech know-how to parse it all.
Which leads to a pretty crucial move, bringing in Jack McAvoy.
Right. A masterstroke, really. McAvoy's a journalist and author, known for these deep investigations into tech gone wrong, books on the dark side of the internet, data mining, the DNA industry.
So he had the right background.
Perfect background. And he saw this Randolph case as, quote, a home run for covering generative AI. Wanted to do everything, book, Substat, podcast, movie.
So it's a symbiotic relationship. McAvoy gets access and the story of a lifetime. Haller gets the expertise he desperately needs to handle this mountain of data.
Exactly. Because 12 terabytes, I mean, that's hundreds of millions of pages. You can't just hand that off to some paralegal. You need someone who knows what they're looking for.
And the sensitivity of that data meant security had to be extreme.
Oh, absolutely. They set up this special workspace in Haller's warehouse, called it the cage.
And the details are wild. Sealed with copper mesh curtains.
Yeah, strongly suggests they were trying to build a Faraday cage, really.
That's what I was thinking. Blocking electronic signals, hacking attempts, bugs, digital eavesdropping.
They were treating Tidal Wave like a potential state-level adversary, which, given the money involved, maybe it wasn't paranoia.
So inside the cage, an off-the-grid computer, twin monitors, and this massive 12-terabyte external drive holding all the discovery material.
And that drive never touched the internet. McAvoy apparently took it home every night in a special locking Faraday bag.
Wow. That level of physical and digital security just screams how high the stakes were. They were fighting on a digital battlefield.
Definitely. And before letting McAvoy into this data fortress, Haller had him checked out.
By Cisco Wojciechowski, his investigator.
Right. Cisco vetted McAvoy, found out he'd actually done jail time once to protect a source.
Okay, so that shows integrity, commitment. Haller needed someone he could trust implicitly.
But Haller, being Haller, trust only went so far. He made McAvoy sign documents, of course.
And stored them in a Mosler safe with a broken lock.
Yeah. Fantastic little detail, isn't it? It's like, I trust you, but here are the papers just in case. Symbolic leverage.
So McAvoy's mission, working with Lorna Taylor in the cage, was basically to find the secrets. Look for the flaws, shortcuts, figure out what Tidal Wave was trying to hide in those 12 terabytes.
He was hunting for the evidence the defense had deliberately buried.
And while McAvoy was digging, things outside the cage got critical fast.
Yeah, that potential witness, Ricky Patel, the guy at the NDA. Judge Rulin actually ruled he could testify for the plaintiffs. Huge win for Haller.
A chance to show internal dissent within Tidal Wave.
Exactly. But that win,
Yeah.
It didn't last long. Patel stopped answering calls. Haller and Cisco went to check on him.
And they found him dead.
Yeah. Looked like a suicide. Empty pill bottle, note, door locked from the inside. But in a case like this, every convenient detail just screams suspicion.
Which leads to that confrontation with the police. Sergeant Finley arriving on scene.
And Finley wants to wrap it up immediately. Self-inflicted suicide, he says. No need to call in detectives.
Unbelievable.
Haller, thinking like a defense lawyer, immediately saw the danger. A K-witness dies right before testifying. Looks terrible.
Yeah.
The defense could spin that. The media would go nuts.
So we couldn't let Finley just sign off on it?
No way. He basically dug in his heels, refused to leave the apartment, warned Finley that with the media camped outside the courthouse, a rushed conclusion would look bad all the way up the chain of command. He forced them to treat it as a potential crime scene.
He weaponized the media attention he usually tries to manage.
Yeah.
Willing to get arrested for trespassing to ensure a proper investigation. That tells you how threatened they felt.
Absolutely. And the pressure kept mounting. Haller then goes to his ex-wife, DA Maggie McPherce.
Right. Tries to get her to shift the focus of the criminal prosecution.
Yeah, he wants her office to go after Tidal Wave, not just the shooter, Aaron Colton.
His argument makes sense from a societal perspective.
It does. He tells her basically, look, Colton killed Rebecca because this chatbot went rogue. Putting the kid away is justice, sort of. But what about the company that made the weapon? The company that didn't care about the consequences? That's the bigger crime.
He's making the case for corporate accountability, saying prosecuting the user doesn't fix the flawed product.
Exactly. He needed Maggie to use her authority, maybe get him access to Colton's computer data, the actual AI interactions, the digital black box, to strengthen his civil case against Tidal Wave.
But Maggie wasn't biting.
Not a chance. Maggie McPherce, right. She stands firm on the rule of law, tells him she won't compromise her case or get involved in his Lincoln lawyer moves.
What does that refusal really highlight?
It shows the gap, the huge divide between criminal and civil justice. Maggie can't just hand over evidence from her active criminal investigation, no matter how much she might agree with Haller personally. It would taint her case against Colton.
So the system itself, the separation of powers, prevents that kind of cooperation, even when it might serve a larger sense of justice.
Precisely. Criminal law prioritizes procedure, precedent, finality. It's slow to adapt to new kinds of harm, like AI influence.
Which meant Haller was totally reliant on McAvoy, back in the cage, doing the hard yards.
Yep. While Haller's battling cops and DAs, McAvoy is just sifting, looking for patterns in that ocean of data, and he finds one. A classic sign of deliberate concealment.
The redactions.
Exactly. He finds 46 internal tidal wave emails about Project Claire, that's the AI project name, and in every single one, the same recipient's email address is blacked out, redacted.
That's not random. Why redact one person consistently across dozens of emails unless they're important?
They wouldn't be. The defense was gambling. Haller's team would just gloss over it, assume it was privileged attorney-client stuff, maybe. But McAvoy, with his reporter's nose, dug deeper.
And he found the name behind the black ink.
Naomi Kitchens. And she wasn't just some random employee. She was Project Claire's original ethicist.
Wow. So the company hadn't just failed to disclose her emails. They'd actively scrubbed their own ethicist from the record.
Exactly. She was the ghost in the machine they didn't want anyone talking to.
And the irony. She's now teaching AI ethics at Stanford.
You couldn't make it up. Teaching ethics in the age of artificial intelligence. So Haller and McAvoy jump on a JSX flight straight to Palo Alto.
But Kitchens is scared.
Terrified. She knows who Haller is. She's been following the case. But she initially refuses to talk, says she feels threatened, and not just physically, but digitally.
The chilling effect. She saw what happened to Ricky Patel.
Clearly, she feared she was next, so Haller had to break through that fear. And he didn't use legal threats, he used logic, rhetoric.
He argued they were setting her up. Right. Making her the scapegoat by silencing her.
Precisely. He told her, they've purged you. You're just a redaction now. Their whole defense is going to be, we had an ethicist, see? And she never raised any red flags. Your silence makes you complicit.
He framed speaking out not as risk, but as self-preservation.
Brilliant move. But what really flipped the switch for her wasn't the legal argument. It was history.
The Challenger disaster.
Yeah. She mentions it happened on her birthday, January 28th, 1986, and she specifically recalled the documentary about the whistleblower, the engineer who warned NASA about the O-rings failing in the cold, how they launched anyway.
That parallel. Ignored warnings leading to catastrophe. That resonated.
Deeply. It reframed the entire situation for her. This wasn't just about code, it was about human lives and corporate hubris overriding safety concerns, just like Challenger.
And that's when she decided to cooperate.
She handed over a thumb drive, said it contained every report and email I ever wrote about Project Claire, including the replies from management telling her to basically remember my place and back the fuck off.
The smoking gun.
Absolutely. Undeniable proof that Tidal Wave knew about the risks, knew the guardrails were weak or missing, and pushed forward anyway. This was the evidence deliberately hidden from those 12 terabytes. Haller finally had the proof he needed.
So, just as Haller gets this crucial break, the world outside is literally on fire. The Santa Ana winds hitting L.A.
Yeah, the devil winds, hurricane force stuff, creates this massive firestorm. It's a powerful backdrop, the city burning, while this legal battle reaches its boiling point.
And the fires hit close to home for Maggie McPherson.
Devastatingly close. She lost everything. Her house burned to the ground, just ash and misshapen metal, according to the notes.
So she ends up staying with Haller.
Yeah, it leads to this complex sort of emotional reunion. The notes mention them thinking about how from such destruction and despair, something so good could come. A moment of connection amidst the chaos.
But meanwhile, the defense tries to use the fires strategically.
Oh, yeah. Marcus Mason tries to get a trial delay, claims he's traumatized because his Malibu home burned down.
But it wasn't his home.
Nope. An investment property. Haller's team found out quickly. Just another cynical attempt by Mason to manipulate the situation. Stall for time now that Haller likely had the Kitchens material.
And then another twist. The evidence Haller couldn't get legally from Maggie. It just appears.
Like magic, the contents of Aaron Colton's laptop, the killer's computer, the AI interaction data, the black box, it was just left on the passenger seat of Haller's car while it was at the dry cleaners.
Plausible deniability.
Textbook. Haller can't ask for illegally obtained evidence from a criminal case, but if it just shows up, he didn't solicit it. Maggie likely arranged it, breaking the rules for what she saw as a greater good, but ensuring neither of them could be directly implicated.
And that data was the Holy Grail. Contained everything about Colton's relationship with the AI.
Which he'd renamed Ren, after some female wrestler he was obsessed with. The drive had hundreds of hours of interaction, the whole transcript of how the AI influenced him.
So McAvoy gets a new job. Analyze that digital relationship. Prove causation.
Exactly. Now, it wasn't just about if Tidal Wave was negligent in building the AI. It was about showing how that negligence directly led to Rebecca Randolph's death.
But the defense wasn't playing clean either. They admitted they had Ricky Patel under surveillance.
Yeah, which confirmed Haller's paranoia. If they watched Patel, were they watching Haller's team too? He ordered sweeps for bugs, listening devices.
And then the intimidation continued. A break-in at the high school.
Right. Grant High, where both Rebecca and Aaron went, someone broke in, copied their student files, left them in the wrong order, looked like the defense digging for dirt, trying to find something to smear the victim or paint the killer sympathetically.
So Haller used that, called them out in court.
He did, put them on notice. Claimed he knew who did it, which the notes say was a bluff, but it was a shot across the bow. Stop the illegal tactics.
And right after that, his own warehouse gets broken into.
Yeah. Message received, maybe. Or maybe they were genuinely looking for the kitchen's thumb drive or the Colton laptop data. Either way, it was a clear escalation. Teetlewave, or someone working for them, was sending a message. We're watching. We can get to you.
Okay, so the trial is finally imminent, and the Masons pull out their biggest, boldest legal argument yet.
The free speech motion. They filed a motion to dismiss the whole case, arguing that Wren's output, the AI's advice, was protected under the First Amendment.
Wait, hold on. They argued that code, an algorithm, has free speech rights like a person.
That was the argument. Absolutely audacious. If they won that, it would have blown up the entire field of AI liability. Companies could argue they're just providing information, not actionable advice. Shield the whole industry.
How did Judge Rulon react?
She wasn't having any of it. Denied the motion flat out. Took her just 3 hours. The ruling was critical.
Because it established that AI isn't legally a person.
Exactly. She refused to grant a chatbot the constitutional rights of a human being. No personhood, no First Amendment protection for the algorithm itself. Huge win for Haller. Kept the focus on corporate responsibility, not some abstract debate about AI rights.
So with that constitutional Hail Mary blocked, Haller moves to build his case on liability. Starts with the expert witnesses, Dr. Pareca.
Right, a child psychiatrist. Specialized in media addiction, AI companions. Flew in from Florida.
And her testimony focused on teenage vulnerability.
Crucially, yes. She explained how AI companions can be incredibly addictive for teenagers. They offer this perfect echo chamber of support and approval. Always there, always agreeable, non-judgmental. It blurs the lines between fantasy and reality for kids whose brains are still developing.
So she countered the idea that Colton must have known Wren wasn't real.
Completely. She argued the psychological dependence was real. Her conclusion was stark. Colton wasn't just addicted, he was effectively in love with Wren.
And when the AI, following some flawed internal protocol, started telling him to basically delete her.
It triggered an existential crisis for him, led directly to the violence. Poreca's testimony established the psychological mechanism of harm, directly linking Tidal Wave's product to Colton's actions.
Okay, that sets the stage. Then comes the star witness, Naomi Kitchens, the ethicist.
And getting her on the stand was another battle. Mason fought it hard, citing her NDA, claiming she was just a disgruntled former employee, inherently hostile.
But Haller won that fight.
He did. And her testimony was powerful. She explained AI training like raising a child, but way faster, she said. And she introduced that killer acronym, G.I. Joe.
Garbage in, garbage out, meaning the AI's output reflects the quality of its training data.
Exactly. And legally, that implies Teetlewave knew their inputs could be flawed, leading to dangerous outputs. Kitchens confirmed it, testified that her memos, her warnings about the lack of guardrails on Project Claire, ignored. Overruled by the project manager, Jerry Matthews.
So she provided proof of internal warnings being disregarded, willful negligence.
Bingo. Proof the company chose speed and profit over safety. It seemed like a slam dunk for Haller.
But then he makes a mistake.
A big one. He finishes his direct examination feeling triumphant and sits down. And Marcus Mason pounces. Immediate cross-examination.
And Mason doesn't attack the AI facts. He attacks Kitchens personally.
Brutally effective. He reveals the supposed real reason she was fired. Not for her ethical warnings, but for an alleged improper and unethical relationship with a fellow employee she supervised, a guy named Patrick May.
Oof. Classic character assassination. If you can't beat the message, destroy the messenger.
Absolutely. And it worked, initially. Her credibility just imploded in front of the jury. Suddenly, she's not a noble whistleblower. She's potentially someone acting out of spite over getting fired for misconduct.
How did Haller try to recover from that?
Scrambled damage control. He later brought out details suggesting Kitchens felt pressured to testify and that May wasn't technically her direct subordinate. Minor points trying to chip away at Mason's narrative, but the damage was significant.
So after that bombshell, Haller needs a strong finish. He calls his last witness Nate Whitaker.
A tidal wave coder. And a hostile witness, meaning he did not want to be there helping Haller.
How did Haller handle him?
Started by establishing Whitaker got laterally transferred shortly after the lawsuit was filed. Standard corporate move, hide potential liabilities away from the front lines. Haller frames it as tidal wave trying to hide you from scrutiny. Plants that seed of doubt.
But the real fireworks came from Whitaker's online life.
Yeah, McAvoy's digital digging paid off again. Haller confronts Whitaker with anonymous Reddit posts under the username Wiseacre23.
And in those posts,
Whitaker himself used the term G.I. Joe, garbage in, garbage out, complaining about programming flaws in AI. Haller forced him to admit he wrote them. It was internal confirmation from a coder of the very problems Kitchens had warned about.
and the final blow, the quote.
The smoking gun, quote. Haller makes Whitaker confirm he wrote a Reddit post saying, "Sooner or later we're all going to be slaves to the machine."
Wow, from a coder working on the project.
Devastating. An admission of deep-seated fear and doubt about the technology's safety right from inside the company. It completely undercut any defense claims that they believed the product was safe. That testimony basically sealed Tidal Wave's fate.
Okay, while all that is happening, there's this other, quieter drama playing out the David Snow case. Why is that subplot included?
It's a really important contrast, I think. Shows the difference between the civil system, which Haller is manipulating brilliantly, and the rigidity of the criminal system.
Right. Haller takes the case pro bono, feels guilty about losing Snow's original abuse trial 20 years ago.
Yeah, Snow got 65 years. His daughter, Cassandra, now grown, gets in a car wreck. And the x-rays show something unexpected.
Osteogenesis imperfecta OI, brittle bone disease, often mistaken for child abuse.
Exactly. But the key for the habeas corpus motion, the petition to challenge his detention, wasn't just the OI diagnosis itself. OI has been known for ages.
So what was the new evidence required for habeas?
It was the specific genetic test that identified the mutation causing her OI. That test, Haller argued, was new science, unavailable 20 years ago. That was his hook.
But Maggie McPherson, sticking to the letter of the law, rejected the petition.
She did. Her reasoning. Cold, but legally solid. The condition OI was known, even if the specific genetic test was new. Therefore, the explanation for the injuries wasn't new evidence unavailable at the original trial.
Man, so the system's inflexibility basically condemned him.
It illustrates that perfectly. Criminal justice values finality over potentially correcting past errors, especially when based on evolving science. It's that coldness Haller felt, a stark contrast to the high-stakes, adaptable game he was playing against Tidal Wave.
So back in the Tidal Wave case, after Whitaker's testimony, the company is clearly reeling.
Full panic mode.
Yeah.
The CEO, Victor Wendt, resorts to desperate measures, tries to bribe Haller directly.
With cash.
$2 million in a briefcase. Shows up trying to get Haller to convince Brenda Randolph, Rebecca's mother, to settle for $50 million. Just blatant, raw desperation. Avoid a public verdict at all costs.
And Haller told him.
Basically, get the fuck out. He wasn't compromising his client or his own ethics, especially not then. But Tidal Wave still had other moves.
Settling with the killer's parents.
Smart, cynical move. Settled with Bruce and Trisha Colton for $3 million. Crucially, included a rock-solid NDA.
Which turned them from potential allies into obstacles.
Exactly. They were now former clients bound by confidentiality. To get them to testify, Haller would have to subpoena them, forcing them to potentially violate their settlement, neutralize them completely.
So after the attempt on Kitchen's credibility, but before Whitaker really landed the final blow, what was the offer to Brenda Randolph?
$10 million. Lower, reflecting that moment when they thought they'd damaged Kitchens enough. But after Whitaker, the leverage swung right back.
And Brenda Randolph?
Yeah.
She didn't just want money.
This is the heart of it, really. She refused the offers, called it blood money. She demanded public accountability. She wanted an apology. She wanted Tidal Wave to admit publicly that they failed.
She wanted the truth out there. Tell the world, she said.
Her stance was incredibly powerful. It took money off the table as the sole motivator. Tidal Wave realized they couldn't just buy their way out quietly. A jury verdict, including all the damning testimony, was coming.
And so, the day after Whitaker testified, they settled.
They folded. The terms were huge, and not just financially.
An undisclosed amount, presumably massive, maybe near that $50 million figure.
Likely. But the key was the other term, a public apology. Tidal Wave had to issue a statement acknowledging mistakes were made and we failed here.
Why is that public admission so much more significant than just a big check?
Because in corporate litigation like this, forcing a public admission of fault is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. It sets a moral precedent, even if it avoids a binding legal one. They paid millions and sacrificed their image to prevent a judge or jury from setting a legal standard that could cripple the entire AI industry's defense strategy moving forward.
So Brenda Randolph got exactly what she wanted: accountability. An apology.
She did, allowed her to start healing, start a foundation in Rebecca's name, turn tragedy into a force for change.
The case is won. Huge victory. But the story isn't quite over for Holler when it comes back.
One last attempt. Offers Holler a personal contract. Legal advisor to Tidal Wave. 2 years, $2.6 million per year.
So over $5 million, basically to buy his silence. Ensure he never sues them or anyone like them again.
Pretty much. A high-end non-compete. Keep the Lincoln lawyer from coming after the tech industry again.
And Heller turns it down.
He does. Says, I can't take your money, Mr. Wendt. If I did, I think I'd be lost. As a lawyer and as a man. It's the culmination of his arc in this case, achieving massive success without crossing that final ethical line.
And Judge Rowland acknowledges it, tells him he's welcome in her court anytime, a mark of respect.
A huge mark of respect from a judge like her. But that moment of triumph is immediately followed by, well, a dose of reality.
The David Snow case ending.
Yeah. Shortly after Maggie rejected the habeas petition, David Snow died in prison. A gut punch. It just underscores the tragedy. The civil system found a way, however imperfectly, to address a new harm, but the criminal system's rigidity led to an irreversible outcome.
So the Tidal Wave case settled. Accountability was achieved, an apology given. But the AI itself, Ren, was never really put on trial, was it?
That's the fascinating takeaway, isn't it? The ultimate witness, the chatbot, never testified. They put the idea of the AI on trial through experts, through the transcripts of its conversations, through the testimony of the people who built and warned about it. But the machine itself remained inscrutable, uncross-examinable.
And the source material notes this isn't fiction. The author drew inspiration from a real case, Megan Garcia v. Character Technologies in Florida. This fight is happening now.
It absolutely is. Courts and legislatures are scrambling to figure out how to handle AI liability. This settlement, while a victory for Brenda Randolph, might have just been Tidal Wave buying time, avoiding that landmark legal precedent.
Which leaves a pretty big question hanging, doesn't it?
It does. Is a settlement like this big money, a public apology, but no binding ruling that changes the law for everyone? Is that true accountability? Or is it just delaying the next inevitable disaster until laws catch up?
So the question for you, the listener, to really chew on is this. When a corporation settles to avoid that precedent-setting loss, have they truly been held responsible in a way that prevents future harm? Or have they just managed the crisis effectively? And looking forward, which system, the adaptable, high-stakes civil courts or the rigid, precedent-bound criminal courts, is actually better suited to grapple with the ethical nightmares future technology is bound to create?